Coming up on today's episode. Good day, YouTube. Here with you at the bench once more. And as you can see in front of you, there is a new project. This project I've had for a couple weeks now, I think. Maybe not quite that long, but close to it. This is, after we take the shadow off, this is an RCA. Something that was, I alluded to the, having something different on the bench. And RCAs are something different for me. I don't have very many RCA radios. I think one or two. And they are transistor radios, I believe. So, the old two-type radios were usually out of reach, but I thought, well, I'm going to spend a little bit more and get something I want to play with. And I did. This is a model 66X1. Now, this is AM and shortwave. I believe it goes from 9 to 12 megahertz on shortwave. Of course, standard broadcast is 55 to 160. This was reported by the seller on eBay, and I'll have to find out what like I said, it's been a while since I bought it, and I'll have to find out what I paid for it, whatever shipping was, and things like that. But like I said, AM, shortwave, 40s radio, 46, 48, somewhere around in there, I think. It is plastic, according to the schematic. So, that's that. This is an AC/DC set, transformerless, whatever you want to call it. No transformer installed. Now, it is also a 6-tube radio. It does have an dedicated RF amplifier. So, maybe a little bit more selective, we'll hope, and that'll be good. So, now, like I started to say, the seller reported this radio as it will make noise, but does not tune any stations. I think he said crackle out of the speaker is all he heard. So what we're going to do is hook it up to the Variac and bring it up fairly slowly, kind of monitor the amperage and see if it, works out all right. If it does. Now I do have it in standard broadcast band. The middle knob is tuning, and this is on-off volume, and that's really all it is. And like I said, let me hook this up to the power. I do have a cord here. Now I'm going to guess this is not the original cord. Number one, it's white. That just does not seem correct. But like I said, the previous owner did plug it in and said he heard noises. So we'll, like I said, take it a little cautiously. We'll plug it into the Variac and bring it up slowly and monitor the amperage. So there you go. Let me hook it up and we'll be right back. Okay, at 15 volts I have 0.08 amperage. There's 93 volts, 0.13. There's some crackling. I am on the, how you can see it, but I'm around the local station 1390. With the crackling, I got 0.19, 190 milliamps, 93.5 volts. I do have it plugged into isolation as the my Variac is an isolation transformer. Definitely no stations, just the crackling and the popping. Down to 1.18, 180 milliamps. Okay, there's 103. I would think we're going to get anything, we get it there. Just my opinion. It almost sounds like radio, but at the same time, it's too much popping, cracking. That's another thing. That's off, that's on, and you're getting almost same volume at that level as I do all the way up. So we're going to guess there's a problem with the audio right away. So, all right, we're going to call that good. Got to turn this off. I think we can safely say it has some problems. Fairly obvious. So what I think I'm going to do is take the case off, and I believe this comes off or comes out through the bottom. This is a radio that's kind of odd to me anyway. All right, well, this is the back, or back, I shouldn't say back. This is the bottom of the radio. Place for 6 screws. 5 screws is all it had in it. But they are all identical, so that's good. I think this should lift right off, I think. It's possible, maybe not. Who knows? Oh, I bet you I know what it is. It's the radio's attached to it. I think the cover, or what do you call it, needs to come off of that. So let's try that. Coming loose from the bottom. So that's probably a good thing. Oh yeah. There we go. We can now move it around, I think, a little bit better and get the other parts off. Looks to me like this was gonna, oh yeah, that definitely has a, well, you can see up here, definitely has a patched cord, so we'll have to fix that. Probably end up putting a polarized one on it. Seems like the best way to go, I think. There we go. Nothing holding it in but the tape, doesn't look like. Put that over out of the way. I do have schematic for this, by the way. So that will be good. Let me get off camera here and get this apart and come back and tell you what I did. That sounds like a good plan. Alright, well, I was successful in getting it apart. I basically had to lay it down on his back like this, and then the knobs that on the top, let's see if you, up here, were pretty much even with this, and just basically pry up on it a little bit and get each one free, and got it below where it was supposed to go, and then it popped right out. But as you can see, that's the only ventilation that I can see, is that vent right there. So not much ventilation. Of course, it's a pretty big cabinet, I mean inside. This is the speaker grill. Speaker came out with the radio. We'll look at that in just a second. Dial glass seems to be in pretty good shape. It's clear enough. So, happy about that. Anyway, I think we're going to take and set this aside, because it's pretty much, I didn't get to show you the top of that the way it looks. There you go. That's a shortwave band there, and if you look the other way, the broadcast. So definitely needs a good cleaning. Might be plastic. Can't tell, but might be. Alright, let me get this out of the way and we'll bring the other one in. Alright, well there you can see the rest of the radio. And your speaker, your tuning wheel, dial string holder, what do you want to call it? You see the dial string is intact. It is functional. You see the dial pointer, how it's shaped. It's an odd shape, but it does work. So that's kind of unique. So let's take a look at the back side. Our octal tube set in the back. Looks like the RF tubes are metal all the way down to the IF, looks like. So audio tubes are, and the rectifier are not, obviously. Tuning condenser here. It is just a two gang. I know a lot of tuned RF radios will have a 3-gang tuning capacitor, but this just has an RF amplifier, and it is directly coupled to the tuning capacitor, so that's the way it works. So there you go. There's a good look at it. Speaker, I won't say it's perfect, but it's not really bad shape. Nothing seems to be wrong with it. No cracks that I can see. Obvious cracks, I should say. So I'm not going to worry about that too much. I will put something over that eventually. Probably after the first time I put my finger through it, but you know me. Antenna. This is both UF. I started to say UHF and VHF. This is both shortwave and AM, the way the schematic reads. So obviously what we're going to do first is there's no apparent, oscillator. I think that's what it sounds like. We can't even be sure though that we've got a audio amp, so maybe we ought to feed some signal into the audio amp and go from there and see if we can come up with audio at least. If we do, then we can think about that oscillator. The fact that we have noise coming out of it doesn't mean the audio amp is working. As I said, with the volume control down, control turned all the way down and all the way up, there's no difference in the volume level. That could mean a couple of different things. Could mean the volume control is bad and go from there, or it could just mean that it's not really audio that we're hearing. We're hearing something else from the radio. So whatever the case may be, first thing we need to do is determine that, I believe. And you can see there is a brown cord there, original, I think. Let's look at that. That looks brown to me, I think. I would have thought that would have been a brown cable cord, line cord. So we'll fix that, make sure that's right, and go from there. For right now, it seems to be okay to use it to test for testing and that. This antenna will probably come off, I'm guessing. Yes, I can see 2 screws. Everything is standard screwdriver, flat blade. It's kind of odd. So that may be some kind of tuning for an antenna, looks like. Guessing. I say these things, and you guys are not looking at what I'm looking at. Inside the antenna here is 2 flat blade standard screws, and this looks like some type of tuning for the antenna. So that's what I'm guessing anyway. So we'll probably take this off, although we don't really need to right away. So let me get a game plan here, and so that's probably what we'll do next. Stay tuned. Alright, we are back again. As you can hear, the radio is still crackling. I do have it, I believe, hooked up to the high side. I'm going to turn the signal generator on, the little BDSI. That's all the way up, and I have the on, so you can hear it does vary. I couldn't get anything out of the poking around the antenna, so I'm thinking we do have a radio problem. So that works there. I'm going to turn this off. It's too hard to hear anything. So audio amp is working at least somewhat. I won't say it's great because, again, that was all the way up. And the output of that little BDSI, and for you guys that didn't know what I was doing here, it's what it looks like. I pressed the red button to make it generate the signal, and that's what it was doing. So other than using a clip lead, that was all I was doing there to get to the high side. I think that's the high side of the volume control. Obviously, it does make a difference when you turn it up and down, so I'm pretty sure it is. So Oh, and by the way, this was a RCA jack here. I said it was something to do with the tuner and the antenna, but it's actually phono input. So that's what that is. You know, back in the old days, they didn't bother putting capacitors in or anything like that. It just goes directly to the volume control. So that's kind of weird. But it is what it is. We won't be using it. Let me unhook this, and so I'm going to see what this looks like here. And I'm going to unplug it first. It is, like I said, plugged into the constant isolation transformer, not the variable. So, if I can get it out of there. There we go. Turn this around a little bit. Yeah, so see, there's your... Yeah, that comes in there, goes out there. So I can't see that one. But yeah, there's two different layers there. I'm pretty sure there's a switch of some kind there to where if you plug that in, it makes contact with that, and the other way it doesn't make contact with it. So I probably need to get the antenna off, out of the way, and then we can go in there and investigate that. I think probably the best way to do this is just disconnect that all together, get all that hocus pocus out of there, because we're not going to use that. Again, like I said, that's not something we're going to use. So we might try to add an MP3 player, but it won't be via this. I guarantee you that. So, all right, let me get off here, and I'll get some of this stuff taken apart, and we'll come back and look again. Basically, like I said, take this wire coming from the potentiometer, high side, and take that wire off. Feed this wire into that point right there, and I believe that should be the same thing as what we have without the jack. I believe, because I think that wire going over the antenna is just a common ground point. So, anywho, that's what I plan to do if the schematic bears out that same thing. Now I do see some problems here. I don't know if you can see that is what I'm seeing, but I think that wire might be disintegrated or something, because it's going over the top of this bare wire, and that's not good. That may be a source of some scratchiness. So a lot of different things. Then again, well, I was going to say that could be this insulation from that, but no, it's not. It's a different wire. So, yeah, it does have some rubber wiring in there, it looks like, looking down at the bottom. So we'll have to fix that. Obviously, it's going to need a recap. It has quite a few paper caps in it, and that should be fun. Always is. So, now this one here, I don't know if you can see that. It's just got these big bare leads hanging out in midair. That's something else. That's not. I don't think that's original. I mean, it might be, but it shouldn't be. So, anywho, all right. Like I said, let me get this in here. I keep talking. Get in there and check it out. Make sure that was just a ground, which I know it is. Really don't have to even test it, but I'm going to. So, all right, we'll be back. All right, well, I'm back. I was in the process of changing this wire, like I told you I was going to do, to make this one fit up to here, and I'm going to do that. But in the meantime, I was trying to I thought, well, I'll go ahead and find C15 and see what the deal is with that. Well, I didn't have to look any further than this. You recall I complained about the bare leads and told you it wasn't factory. Well, it's not. Somebody's hack job, and I do mean a hack job. As you can see up here, it is touching that, and even though I've got this out right now, this filter cap, you may not be able to see it's tied up above there. It was in there pressing against that, so where it made good contact. Well, good enough to where every time you move the radio just a little bit, it would make a noise. So I think Bob said that was some kind of B+ on the grid of the output, so that's obviously not going to do any good. Now, that's one thing. When I said hack, I mean hack. Uh, the tube that's supposed to be in there is the 35L6. The tube that's in there is a 50L6. Now, they are essentially the same tube, I'll grant you that, but the filament voltage is 15 volts different. So obviously it's not, the audio is going to be weak. We can gather that from that. But I just thought it would be kind of funny to, and like I said, he put the wrong value in anyway. It's supposed to have a .05, and it's got a .082 in it. So, you know, I guess he thought he was close enough, and he probably was to make it work. But anyway, that's our problem, or most of our problem, I should say. Like I said, every time that flexed enough to where it made contact with that pin number 4, like I said, that's a B plus of some type, and that would make, of course, that'd make a nice, good sound on the, you know, output. So there you go. Here you go. That is problem found, I guess, is what a way to put it. And now all we have to do is correct it. Now it's 7:20 now in the evening. I just started watching Puddin', and I think what I'm going to do is go ahead and see if I've got a 35L6. I'll look through my collection of schematics that I've got on my radios and find out I should have one, but I'm thinking that almost all of the ones that use a 35 pin tube, like the Admiral over there, and I can see it sitting here, is the miniature tubes, and they don't use the same socket, obviously. So I'm hoping I have an octal that way. If not, I'll have to order it. But like I said, it is what it is. So like I said, that's going to solve one of our problems. Before I get up and go in the other room, I'm going to finish doing this and put that wire there to get rid of that RCA phono jack. Get that out of the mix. And before I go just changing this one, I'm going to go ahead and I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 right there that I can get to. And I said 7 before. I know I had more than that. I've got 9 now, I think. But anyway, there was a lot underneath this capacitor, number 1. And the filter capacitor, like I said, I've got it tied up there out of the way so it doesn't bother anything. Like I said, it was in this clamps and it was pushing down on this bare lead, and you know, like I said, I commented on the bare lead before. I said, who's the dumbass that did that? You know, and that's probably what it was. So not a good fix there. I guess his heart was in the right spot, but not a good job. And if he's the one that put the 50L6 in, I'd say totally not a good job. So anywho, that's going to do me for this. Like I said, I'm going to probably, I may go ahead and post this part. I don't know yet, but I'm gonna guess that by the time I get to Phoenix, by the time we get this all straightened back out, this radio probably will play just fine. I'm not for sure, but you know, we'll find out though. So, all right, you guys have a good one. We'll talk to you later.